Welcome to Augusta Fells Savage. My name is Mr. Kaler. Once again, welcome everyone to another Kaler's Conversations. Today we have with us Tina Hike-Hubbard of, well, mini hats that we'd like to actually explore today. Ladies and gentlemen, Augusta Fells Savage, Tina Hike-Hubbard. If we may begin, I'd love to know a little bit about your background. We'd all love to know maybe a little bit about where you grew up, where you went to school, how education became a vital part of your background.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's so great to be here. So I'll follow the format that I just started to talk. So where did I grow up? I grew up in Lincoln, Nebraska. Anybody know where that is? It's far away from here. It's in the middle of the country. I grew up in Lincoln, Nebraska. I went to college at Northwest Missouri State University, which was 2 hours away from home. I ended up there because I was the first person in my family to go to college. My mom was a single parent and worked very hard all her life to make sure that I could have a great educational opportunity, and so when it came time to apply for colleges, I didn't have anybody helping me figure out where to apply. And luckily, this university came to our school to do a visit, and I went to the information session, and half an hour later I had a scholarship and was going to that school. And the first day I set foot on that campus was the first day that I went to school there. I didn't visit, I didn't know anything about it, but it was a really amazing experience, and I had lots of folks who really took care of me and made sure that I had a great education.
Well, speaking on that distance, being a little further away from home than maybe the average American college student, how did traveling 2 hours away from the area you knew growing up, how did that change your perspective on the world?
First of all, I think regionally we have certain customs and traditions that people practice, and I was able to go away from home and sort of meet other people from other places that had other thoughts, ideas, that kind of thing. I also made me a little bit more independent and be able to sort of take care of myself to be away from home. Luckily, I worked really hard when I was in high school, so I actually had a car. It was a little piece of junk, but I had a car. So I could actually get home. It was a 2-hour drive, right? So I could actually get home if I really wanted to. So I had that proximity that I liked, sort of being able to get home if I needed to, but I was also a way that sort of could be independent and sort of explore who I wanted to be, separate and apart from my family, my surroundings. And my family life wasn't always the most nurturing and exciting place to be, so it was nice for me to be able to get away sometimes and have that space to explore who I was and who I wanted to be independent from that.
Well, we have about 30 or so college-bound potential students in this room right now. And a lot of their educational background has not been directly of their choosing. College is a little different in that regard. You are allowed to select your own major. Could you tell our students what major you selected in school and how you came up with that?
So I've always been a lover of politics and social studies, my favorite class in school. That's not because Mr. Kaler is sitting here. And I actually majored in government in college, which is similar to majoring in political science, understanding the study of how our government works, the history of what we've done with governmental setting policy, our president's Congress, legislatures, judicial system, to understand what happens so that we can sort of change the future. And I felt like I was going to go to law school. And so I felt that was a great way to sort of understand our past, to be able to sort of look forward to the present. And so that's what I chose. But I had a humanities minor, which is really about studying ancient cultures and history, and doing philosophy, which is a lot of in your head thinking about the world and why things happen the way they happen. And so I was able to explore that, and actually was able to take lots of different courses in my first couple of years of college before I really decided that that was going to be my minor. I took French, I took psychology. I thought for a minute I might maybe be a psychology major. I think the important thing to note is that when you go to college, you don't have to have your mind set the first day you go into college what it is you'd like to do, right? You can go, you can explore, you can take different courses, you can meet people, you can join different clubs, and eventually you can decide. And I majored in government, and I actually work in education now. So I totally did a 360 even though I majored in government, I actually interned on Capitol Hill my last semester of college for Senator Kerry from Nebraska. And I applied for an internship, was able to get a scholarship to go to D.C. all the way from Missouri, which is a big thing for a girl from a small town to come up and live in D.C. It was an amazing experience, but what it told me was I didn't want to work in politics. So after all that study, I decided that wasn't really what I wanted to do. But it was a great perspective to be in that environment and to learn from the professionals of what was actually happening, and so I had to figure out how I could take that experience and knowledge and translate it to something that I really wanted to do.
Ms. Hike-Hubbard has a very long tradition of working with a specific organization that interacts with Baltimore City quite a great deal. I know that many of us in this room have heard of Teach for America, but we may not specifically really understand exactly what that organization is doing and how that's affecting your life. I can guarantee it's affecting your life right now. Can you go in a little bit and explain to the students what TFA is and how it helps Baltimore City?
Yeah. So Teach for America is a national nonprofit organization that works to place recent college graduates in classrooms in urban, rural, distressed areas where they're having a difficult time finding really highly qualified teachers to come in and teach in schools. So when I got out of college, like I told you, I had decided I'm not going to go work on Capitol Hill anymore and be a politician. I thought, I'm going to go on the Peace Corps, because a lot of people who had impacted my life and made a difference for me, and I felt really compelled to go back and give that back to somebody else. And then all of a sudden I found this program called Teach for America, and I thought, I don't have to go live in Africa to give back. I can actually find out how to give back right here in the United States. So I applied for the program. What the program does is it has an intensive interview process. They look at your curriculum, your background, and your course study in college. They do a rigorous interview process with you. And then if you are selected, you go to an intensive summer training where you actually learn how to be a teacher in 6 weeks, which is a really hard thing to do, right? And then you're placed in somewhere in the country to teach, and I happen to be placed in Baltimore. Because of my experience being in D.C., I told the organization I would only go to Baltimore, D.C., or New York. I wanted to be back on the East Coast. I felt very comfortable, familiar with the area, and this is where I wanted to be. And so you have probably, and I don't know if you have one right now with us in the room, but you have probably had a Teach for America teacher at some point in time in your...
Say hi to Miss Minden, everybody.
What's your name? Because there are approximately, I don't want to get the numbers wrong, but there are probably over 600 teachers that have come through Baltimore since I've been here that are Teach for America teachers, and the number continues to grow. So I taught at West Baltimore Middle School. West Baltimore Middle, that's right. I taught for 2 years there. 3 years, excuse me, 3 years. My commitment is for 2, and I stayed on a 3rd year. The only reason why I left the classroom was because I had the opportunity to go to Enterprise and have a larger impact. But I have to say that I absolutely love my teaching experience, and this program shaped my rest of my career future. It totally changed my direction. So I forgot about applying to law school and instead focused on improving educational outcomes for kids in Baltimore City ever since.
Explain exactly what this organization is doing and how it's affecting Baltimore and the surrounding areas.
So Enterprise Community Partners is a national nonprofit housing developer. And so they actually work in cities all across the country to redevelop distressed neighborhoods and try to create more vibrant opportunities for home ownership and living in decent, affordable housing for families across the country. Some familiar and close examples are Heritage Crossing, which is right down the street from here. It's at the corner of Martin Luther King and Fulton. If you've ever been past that community, it's a mixed income development. What that means is you have a mix of opportunity of people buying homes at market rate, which is the going rate, and you can walk in and buy a home, for a reduced rate for lower income families, and also Section 8 for families who have a voucher to live in housing. But instead of living in dilapidated housing with your Section 8 voucher, you actually live in a mixed income community where no one knows who bought their house or who's living with the housing voucher. And the whole point is to sort of support families and children by lifting them up and out of poverty and having a better quality place to live. The work that I do with Enterprise specifically is that I actually work to support the improvement of local public schools that are attached to the housing that we develop. So In Sandtown, Winchester, which most of you might be familiar with, it's right up the street. Enterprise has supported or built directly over 1,000 homes in that community. And so for the past 14 years, I have been working with schools in that community to try to support, from a community perspective, improvements in those schools. So that includes anything from starting a mentoring program for girls, to doing after-school programming, summer school programming, promoting physical renovations of those buildings through partnerships with Studer Bros, Eccles and Rouse and other partners who came in and actually remodeled the interior of the buildings for us. We changed curriculum, we trained teachers, we coach and support principals, and we do whatever we possibly can to make sure that kids have a better educational experience, as well as connecting their parents, right? Giving the parents an opportunity to connect to what's happening in school. One of our highlight and signature programs is also a home visiting program that we do. It's called Hippie. It's home instruction for parents of preschool youngsters. And this program is designed, we have community advocates who actually reach out into people's homes who have children ages 3 to 5. And we coach the parent on how to work with their children before they even come to school. We deliver curriculum, which will get books in their home and crayons and scissors and all the things you think kids should have in the home, but maybe their parents can't afford to provide for them. And that program is a 30-week curriculum that's delivered for 3 years, and it's been a fantastic result. 100% of our kids that we can test have tested as ready for kindergarten as measured by the Maryland Model for School Readiness. It's the state test that's used to assess readiness for kids. So it's all about making sure that when kids come to school, they have the knowledge and skills and background to be able to sort of start school ready to learn and progressing and not behind. So it's part of what we're doing. And right now, we're actually looking to expand our work in schools into the Park Heights community and also into Central West Baltimore. I am working with community leaders in both of those communities to try to develop a strategy for helping the community to partner with schools and make the schools stronger for the kids who live in those communities.
All of our ills in Baltimore City, from crime, because if you have a good option for a job, you won't commit crimes, to vacant homes. We have money to put people in these homes if we just had the jobs. And jobs, we'd have the jobs if we had an educated workforce that people wanted to move corporations to Baltimore City. Everything boils down to education, and within that education, the most vital, essential ingredient for success would be partnering with community organizations, nonprofits, corporate entities, political figures. In your opinion, what do you think is the best way Augusta Fellows Savage, personally as a school, could help better develop community partnerships with other organizations?
So there's a strategy that we support in the city. It's around sort of the idea of developing community schools, right? I don't know if Augusta Fellows actually is a community school, is it? So we have a community resource center coordinator who's at the school, whose job it is to sort of support the development of partnerships at the school and to listen to the students, the parents, and understand what needs, and teachers and administrators as well, and to make sure that the needs of the school are being met, but to also have a place where partners on the outside can figure out how to support schools. There's a lot of businesses and other organizations in the community who have said, I've tried to work with schools, but I don't know how to do that, right? I don't know what to offer. So having that broker of partnerships and relationships, I think, is vital to not only addressing the needs as they need to be addressed, not assuming what they are, but to also then better connect the businesses and other organizations to the schools and help develop what needs to be developed. So, for example, we have a girls mentoring program, and it's designed for middle school students to sort of think about their future and set goals and that kind of thing. But I am certain that a high school could benefit from not only a boys and a girls mentoring program, and what organizations out there could sort of provide that, where you have some career conversations, college conversations, opportunities beyond high school conversations with other professionals like we're doing today. So it's vital to have that level of partnership. Schools can't do everything alone, and we're preparing you to be successful into the world, and so why not bring the world into the school and have that show a way to sort of support the school and its endeavors. So
one group that has reached out to our school, which we're hoping to develop a better relationship with, is Doc from NAACP Baltimore. He's very interested in beginning a mentor-mentee relationship with every individual student, being assigned a mentor in Baltimore City to help promote the achievement and success of every student at Augusta Fellows Savage. We have to ask a little bit about the Board of Education, the School Board of Commissioners. If you could just possibly expand on what it's like to be commissioned to the board, what your role is on the board, and just basically kind of explain a little bit about the process of being on the Board of Education for Baltimore City.
Thing that I do that I don't get paid a dime to do, right? I actually volunteer probably between 25 and 30 to 40 hours a week working on school board activities. So how do you become a school board commissioner in Baltimore City? It's a very intensive interview process that happens. So you first interview, you submit an application. So you submit a letter of intent stating why you'd like to be part of the school board, which I sort of talk about my community experience and working with communities in Baltimore, and say that I'd like to sort of share those best practices of how communities can better support schools and bring that to a larger system perspective. You write a letter of intent, you then submit your resume and all your background, and you went to college and all that kind of thing. You then interview with the State Board of Education. There was a panel of about 10 people who interviewed me. And I was on the hot seat of asking questions about what my thoughts were and hopes for the city school system and what I'd like to see out of the experience. You then go to an interview with the mayor's office, and you interview directly with the mayor herself. You then have a community conversation, and the mayor puts together a community team of individuals from parents and partners and teachers union and other folks who come together and actually do a panel interview with the community of my perspective as a board member and what I'd like to see happen. And then you interview with the governor's office. So not only, I didn't actually interview with Governor O'Malley himself, but with his high-level leadership team. And they asked me the same questions. Why do I want to be on the board? What would I do if I were on the board? What do I think are the biggest issues facing the school system? Some of the questions that we have here today. And then after all that, you wait and you hear, and so I was luckily appointed, and there's so many folks that go through the interview process, so I really do feel like it's a privilege and an honor to be appointed. But I was appointed by Mayor Rawlings Blake and by Governor O'Malley as a school board member. I'm sorry, what was your question?
No, that was great. And a little bit about, could you take us through, we've read the minutes, some of us have gone into the minutes a little deeper than others, but we've read some of the minutes from the school board meetings. What is the vibe, I guess we're back on lack of a better word, what's sort of like the visceral feeling in the room? What is the school board meeting like? Is it filled with anxiety? Is it relaxed? Does it fluctuate?